After the first phase, after passionate nights and intimate days, only then would he let me trace the frozen river which ran through his face. Only then would he let me explore the blown hinge of his lower jaw and handle and hold the damaged porcelain collarbone and mind and attend the fractured rudder of shoulder blade and finger and thumb the parachute silk of his punctured lung. Only then could I bind the struts and climb the rungs of his broken ribs and feel the hurt of his grazed heart. Skirting along, only then could I picture the scan, the fetus of metal beneath his chest, where the bullet had finally come to rest. Then I widened the search, traced the scarring back to its source, to a sweating, unexploded mine, buried deep in his mind, around which every nerve in his body had tightened and closed. Then, and only then, did I come close.
The idea for Party Hat, which actually originally was called Shell Shock, came from the Manhunt poem by Simon Armitage, which I read when I was 15 years old.
The Party Hat is a short experimental drama film that portrays the re-triggering and flashbacks which occurs in victims of PTSD.
We can understand that symptoms can affect the individual, and we think we can understand, sometimes using the word empathy to describe that experience. Oh, I do know how you feel. Whereas in fact, we don't. We can't.
I have known family members who have been very disconnected, who just completely will zone out and not speak to anyone, and then will take themselves off because when in that state, you can't speak to anyone.
Most of us try to be kind and sympathetic, and I think that is achievable. A very common response to experiencing psychological symptoms is one of feeling isolated, that people don't understand.
I think it's important to recognise that not every single person who serves deals with this, but some do.
It wrecks lives, fractures families and relationships.
A veteran of modern warfare attends an engagement party, at which he experiences a severe episode of distress and panic due to the relentless stimuli of horns, party poppers, sparklers, loud music, and children with toy weapons.
The concept of having the dog tags being the thing that disconnects him from his wife and his loved ones and from reality came from the Manhunt, in the sense that the Manhunt is all about his injuries, his scarring being a map or like a road away from his soul, from who he is. And it's the wife's journey to find him underneath all of the PTSD, underneath all of the hurt.
The terms anxiety and depression are often used in everyday life, of course, but as symptoms, these are something else, and they can be very hard to describe.
Choice to focus on a veteran of war afforded the freedom to depict the extremities and symptoms through a clear visual language.
There's a beautiful quote in the Manhunt, which is the damaged porcelain collarbone, which I feel like the use of porcelain just shows how damaged and fragile the man is. And I wanted to represent this in Party Hat's script through the breaking of the skull on the floor, just to show how fragile these soldiers really are and how fragile this soldier is.
The goal was to overwhelm the viewer with sight and sound. The Party Hat is light on conventional narrative, but heavy on sensory overload and symbolism.
There's also a quote in the Manhunt, which is, he describes him as an unexploded mine. The quote is, "A sweating, unexploded mine." I feel like having the focus of the sweat on the man and the tension building in the moment in Party Hat represents that in the Manhunt as well, because the build of tension just shows that something is coming, something's about to happen, something's about to explode. So essentially when everything builds up, he has his moment and everything kicks off. So I wanted to play on that idea of an unexploded mine in how we showed the man.
We wanted the irrationality and helplessness of PTSD to be at the core of the piece, and for audiences to experience the dread and anxiety in lockstep with our character.
So I wanted to focus on in the script for the Party Hat massively the disconnect between the wife and her partner. So I feel like in the script, not having any dialogue between the man and his wife was very important to show that disconnect, how every time she's speaking to him, "Are you okay?" there is no response, there is no relationship between them.
The Party Hat itself is an anchor to his material world. The viewer might infer from the subtext that the veteran committing to wearing this hat is a gesture of good faith self-help, an attempt to expose himself to his fears for the good of his loved ones.
So I feel like using this film as a way to display some kind of trigger and some kind of hurt that people will go through could possibly allow people in that situation, in the situation of essentially the wife in the Manhunt, someone trying to reconnect with their partner. I think that was the aim, to sort of show how disconnected they can really feel.
But perhaps not letting go will prevent him from marching further towards recovery.
We wanted to show how this came about. The Party Hat does just that.